The 5 points of performance. The first point of performance is proper exit, check body position, and count. Jumpers, hit it. Upon exiting the aircraft, snap into a good tight body position. Keep your eyes open, chin on your chest, elbows tight into your sides, hands on the end of your reserve with your fingers spread. Bend forward at the waist, keeping your feet and knees together. Knees locked to the rear and count to 6,000. At the end of your 6,000 count, immediately go into your second point of performance. Check canopy and gain canopy control, and immediately compare your rate of descent with fellow jumpers. Reach up to the elbow-locked position and secure the front set of risers in each hand, simultaneously conducting a 360-degree check of your canopy. Your sliders should be fully extended and begin to slide down the suspension lines. Move immediately into comparing your rate of descent with your fellow jumpers. If you are falling faster than your fellow jumpers, or you cannot compare your rate of descent, activate your reserve parachute using the pull-drop method. If during your second point of performance you find you have twists and you are not falling faster than fellow jumpers, reach up and grasp a set of risers in each hand, thumbs down, knuckles to the rear. Pull the risers apart and begin a vigorous bicycling motion. When the last twist comes out, immediately check canopy and gain canopy control. Your third point of performance is keep a sharp lookout at all times and constantly compare your rate of descent. Remember the 3 rules of the air and repeat them after me. Always look before you slip. Always slip in the opposite direction to avoid collisions. And the lower jumper always has the right of way. Avoid fellow jumpers all the way to the ground by maintaining a 25-foot separation and continue to compare your rate of descent with fellow jumpers during your third point of performance. Release all appropriate equipment tie-downs. This brings you to your fourth point of performance, which is prepare to land. At approximately 100 feet above ground level or treetop level, look below you to ensure there are no fellow jumpers and lower your equipment. Then slip into the wind. Attempt to utilize the slip assist loops or slip assist tabs and execute a 1 riser slip opposite your direction of drift. You will execute a 1 riser slip by grabbing 1 to 3 arm lengths depending on the wind. If the wind is blowing from your left, reach up with your left hand and grab either riser on the left side and pull a 1 to 3 arm length slip deep into your chest until you land. If the wind is blowing from your front, reach up with either hand and grab either riser on the front side and pull a 1 to 3 arm length slip deep into your chest until you land. If the wind is blowing from your right, reach up with your right hand and grab either riser on the right side and pull a 1 to 3 arm length slip deep into your chest until you land. If the wind is blowing from your rear, reach up with either hand and grab either riser on the rear side and pull a 1 to 3 arm length slip deep into your chest until you land. If you decide to pull a 2 riser slip, secure the risers opposite your direction of drift and hold them deep into your chest until you land. After you have slipped into the wind, you will assume a landing attitude by keeping your feet and knees together, knees slightly bent, elbows tightened to your sides, with your head and eyes on the horizon. When the balls of your feet make contact with the ground, put your chin down to your chest and execute a proper parachute landing fall. The fifth point of performance is land. You will make a proper parachute landing fall by hitting all 5 points of contact. Touch them and repeat them after me. 1. Balls of your feet. 2. Calf. 3. Thigh. 4. Buttocks. And 5. Pull-up muscle. You will never attempt to make a standing landing. Remain on the ground and activate both of your canopy release assemblies using either the hand-to-shoulder method or the hand assist method. To activate your canopy release assembly using the hand-to-shoulder method, reach up with either hand and grasp the corresponding safety clip. Pull out and down on the safety clip, exposing the cable loop. Insert the thumb from the bottom to the top through the cable loop. Turn your head in the opposite direction and pull out and down on the cable loop. To activate your canopy release assembly using the hand assist method, reach up and grasp the corresponding safety clip. Pull out and down on the safety clip, exposing the cable loop. Insert the thumb from bottom to top through the cable loop. Reinforce that hand with the other. Turn your head in the opposite direction and pull out and down on the cable loop. Place your weapon into operation and remove the parachute harness. The next item I will cover is recovery of equipment. Once you are out of the parachute harness, remove all air items from the equipment rings. Unzip and turn the universal parachutist recovery bag right side out. Place the parachute harness inside the universal parachutist recovery bag with the smooth side facing up. Secure the risers and place them under the parachute harness. Non-tactical. Elongate the suspension lines and canopy, removing all debris. Once you reach the bridle line, secure the drogue parachute and deployment sleeve in one hand and begin to figure 8 roll your canopy and suspension lines all the way to the UPRB, leaving the drogue parachute, deployment sleeve, and bridle assembly on top of the main canopy. Tactical. Remain on a knee at the universal parachutist recovery bag. Begin pulling the suspension lines and canopy towards the universal parachutist recovery bag, stuffing them in as you go. Place the drogue parachute, deployment sleeve, and bridle assembly on top of the main canopy. Snap. Do not zip the universal parachutist recovery bag. Place the reserve parachute in the reserve parachute stowage pocket. Secure all of your equipment. Conduct a 360-degree check of your area and move out to your assembly area. The next item I will cover is the activation of the T-11 reserve parachute. To activate the T-11 reserve parachute, you will use the pull-drop method. Jumpers, hit it. Maintain a good, tight body position. Grasp the ripcord handle with either hand. Throw your head back to the rear, pull out on the ripcord handle, and drop it. Your reserve parachute will activate. Ensure neither hand is in front of the reserve parachute as it deploys. After you activate the T-11 reserve parachute, secure the reserve risers at approximately 200 feet AGL, slip into the wind, and prepare to land. The next item I will cover is towed jumper procedures. Jumpers, hit it. If you become a towed jumper and are being towed by your universal static line modified and are unconscious, you will be retrieved back inside the aircraft. If you are conscious, maintain a good tight body position with both hands covering your ripcord handle, and an attempt will be made to retrieve you inside the aircraft. As you near the paratroop door, do not reach for us. Continue to protect your ripcord handle. If you cannot be retrieved, your universal static line modified will be cut. Once you feel yourself falling free from the aircraft, count to 6,000 and activate your reserve parachute using the pull-drop method. If you are being towed by your equipment, regardless of whether you are conscious or unconscious, that item of equipment will be cut or jogged free, and your main canopy will deploy. The next item I will cover is malfunctions. Remember to continue to check your canopy for any damage or irregularities and compare your rate of descent throughout your entire jump. If at any time you cannot compare your rate of descent or you are falling faster than your fellow jumpers, immediately activate your reserve parachute using the pull-drop method. The next item I will cover is collisions and entanglements. Jumpers, hit it. Check canopy and gain canopy control, and immediately compare your rate of descent with fellow jumpers. If you see another jumper approaching, immediately look and then slip away. If you cannot avoid the collision, assume a spread eagle body position and attempt to bounce off the jumper's canopy and or suspension lines, and immediately look and then slip away. If you pass through the suspension lines and you become entangled, snap into a modified position of attention. With either hand, protect your ripcord handle. With the opposite hand, attempt to weave your way out of the suspension lines, the same way you entered. Once clear, immediately look and then slip away. If you become entangled, the higher jumper will climb down to the lower jumper using the hand-under-hand method. Once both jumpers are even, they will face each other and grasp each other's left main lift web. Both jumpers will discuss which PLF they will execute. Both jumpers will conduct the same PLF. Neither jumper will execute a front PLF. Both jumpers will continue to observe their canopies all the way to the ground. If one canopy collapses, both jumpers will ride the one good canopy all the way to the ground. If both canopies collapse, both jumpers will immediately turn away in order to create a clear path and activate their reserve parachute using the pull-drop method. Should you find yourself on another jumper's canopy without rolling, use whatever means necessary to get off the canopy and immediately activate your reserve parachute. Attempt to avoid the four corner vents on the canopy. Should you fall through a corner vent, stay where you are and be prepared to conduct a PLF. If you have another jumper on top of your canopy, continually compare your rate of descent. If you are falling faster than your fellow jumpers, immediately activate your reserve parachute using the pull-drop method. The next item I will cover is emergency landings. The first emergency landing I will cover is the tree landing. If you are drifting towards the trees, immediately look and then slip away. If you cannot avoid the trees and have lowered your equipment, look below you to ensure there are no fellow jumpers and jettison your equipment, making a mental note of where it lands. If you have not lowered your equipment, keep it on you to provide extra protection while passing through the trees. At approximately 200 feet AGL, assume a good landing attitude by keeping your feet and knees together, knees slightly bent and chin on your chest. When you make contact with the trees, rotate your hands in front of your face with your elbows high. Be prepared to execute a proper PLF if you pass through the trees. If you get hung up in the trees and you do not feel you can safely lower yourself to the ground, stay where you are and wait for assistance. If you decide to climb down, jettison all unneeded equipment. Ensure that you maintain your helmet. Activate your quick release in your waistband. With either hand, apply inward pressure on the ripcord assembly. With the opposite hand, remove the top tuck tab. Maintain steady inward pressure, and with the opposite hand, insert it behind the ripcord assembly and apply inward pressure. Grasp the ripcord handle with the opposite hand, pull it and drop it. With both hands, control the activation of the reserve parachute to the ground, ensuring that all suspension lines and risers are completely deployed. Disconnect the left connector snap and rotate the reserve to the right. Attach the left connector snap to the triangle link on your right side. Seat yourself well into the saddle. Activate the quick release in the chest strap and completely remove the chest strap from the chest strap friction adapter. Grasp the right main lift web with either hand below the canopy release assembly, and with the other hand activate the leg strap ejector snaps and climb down the outside of the reserve parachute. Caution must be taken when climbing down the T-11 reserve suspension lines because of the slippery coating applied to the suspension lines. Remember, when in doubt, stay where you are and wait for assistance. The next emergency landing I will cover is the wire landing. If you are drifting towards wires, immediately look and try to slip away. If you cannot avoid the wires, look below you to ensure there are no fellow jumpers and jettison your equipment, making a mental note of where it lands. Ensure that you maintain your helmet. Assume a good landing attitude by keeping your feet and knees together, exaggerating the bend in your knees, eyes open, chin on your chest, with your back arched. Place the palms of your hands high on the inside of the front set of risers with the elbows locked. When you make contact with the wires, begin a vigorous rocking motion in attempt to pass through the wires. Be prepared to execute a proper PLF in the event you pass through the wires. If you get hung up in the wires, do not attempt to lower yourself to the ground. Stay where you are and wait for assistance. The next emergency landing I will cover is the water landing. If you are drifting towards a body of water, immediately look, then slip away. If you cannot avoid the water, look below you and ensure there are no fellow jumpers, and lower your equipment. Next, jettison your helmet, making a mental note of where it lands. Activate the quick release in the waistband. Disconnect the left connector snap and rotate the reserve parachute to the right. Seat yourself well into the saddle and activate the quick release in the chest strap, completely removing the chest strap from the chest strap friction adapter. Regain canopy control. Prior to entering the water, assume a good landing attitude by keeping your feet and knees together, knees slightly bent, and place your hands on both leg strap ejector snaps. When the balls of your feet make contact with the water, activate both leg strap ejector snaps, arch your back, throw your arms above your head, and slide out of the parachute harness. Be prepared to execute a proper PLF if the water is shallow. Swim upwind or upstream away from the canopy. If the canopy comes down on top of you, locate a seam and follow it to the skirt of the canopy. The next item I will cover is life preservers. When jumping a life preserver and you are unable to slip away from the water, lower your combat equipment. Activate your life preserver, then jettison your combat equipment prior to making contact with the water. Be prepared to execute a proper PLF if the water is shallow. Once in the water, activate both canopy release assemblies. The next item I will cover is night jumps. When conducting night jumps, be sure to give your canopy an extra look. If you have any reason to believe you are falling faster than fellow jumpers, immediately activate your reserve parachute. Maintain noise discipline and a good interval between fellow jumpers. Be prepared to conduct a PLF because you will hit the ground approximately 5 to 10 seconds before you think you will. The next item I will cover is Instrument Meteorological Conditions, IMC. When jumping under IMC, do not lower your equipment until you have passed through the clouds. Do not slip unless you have to avoid a collision. If you have any type of malfunction or any reason to believe you are falling faster than fellow jumpers, you must immediately activate your reserve parachute using the pull-drop method, because you cannot compare your rate of descent with fellow jumpers. Ensure you recheck your canopy once you pass through the clouds. The final item I will cover is parachute landing falls. We will now move to the PLF platform and conduct one satisfactory PLF in each of the 4 directions.